Princess Olufemi Kayode to talk about this. Princess, I don't know if you can hear me. How are you doing today?
I can hear you. I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. Yes, I did have a guest on your show a couple of weeks ago, Jerome, and we're talking about the same issue. The issue of statistics and data came up a lot, and it's something that we don't tend to talk about or keep a lot of in Nigeria. We heard news in Paris about a tripling of reported cases of domestic violence in the last couple of months because of the lockdown. Same thing in countries like South Africa, and I think Mexico as well. It's happening everywhere in the world. And it would be strange to think that Nigeria would be any different. Do we have any idea how bad things have been in the last couple of weeks?
Okay, I'm also in the forefront because my organization, Media Concern Initiative, also have helplines. As at this morning, I was still receiving calls, and we were managing damages going on during the crisis, women who were battered by their husbands, children who were beaten, and all of that. So it is actually bad. But in terms of numbers will be an issue in terms of course, we talk about data in our country, it's still an issue. But then I think within Lagos State, because everybody works together, there was a lot of collaborations going on together because NGOs could not step out to do, the assistance that could be even given ordinarily. So we had to work with the states, which was the Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team of the state was actually managing a bit of all of that, including the police. Although, of course, they could not really arrest most people, particularly during the lockdown, people couldn't be arrested. So that also put a lot of women in very funny situation because, okay, you've made your report, so how could the man be, picked up? There were some who were a bit afraid that the state was, calling them up to say, oh, you're beating your wife. And so some of the women were saved. But there were some that was really bad that they had to really either move the woman out of the environment because the man could not be arrested because of the COVID pandemic, which we know that social distancing and all of that could not happen within, cells or prisons. So it's really bad, and it's still bad. It's still bad. It's still there.
That's is a little troubling, or more than a little, even troubling. The fact that people could not be arrested, and I can understand why you might not want to have contacts, in a time like this. But I mean, if someone is in danger, why is arrest not possible? And how frequent was the situation you found with the reports you got?
I think the issue was basically when COVID. SGBV is already a worldwide pandemic before COVID breakout. It was a pandemic that we were not even managing as best as we could. So with COVID, when they were making the emergency meetings, there was no gender-specific, portions, in all those meetings, in how to make sure people are not infected. It was all about infection, and other social issues were not really put on the table for emergency meeting, which is why it's so important that every sector needed to be part of it. And so that's why it seemed like when we talk about no arrest, so what are we going to do? So there will have been brainstorming ahead to say, okay, fine. So what are the things that will come that will hit us at this time? Which is what we say about planning and preparation. Yes, COVID met us, nobody was prepared, but then there still has to be planned on how to maintain safety of every citizen. And that was not it, because even those who could call, NGOs who could support, could not pick up anybody because they were not among those who were given consideration to have the special status to move around. So you could not even go pick a woman who was beaten to stupor. So there were those kind of situations there. Yeah. And then so those are things that were not considered. That, okay, fine, is either the state provides some vehicle and the different strategic locations of the state, Badagry, Ikorodu, all those assets are Jar, and then so not everybody is in Ikeja, or to say, okay, fine, there will be a vehicle if there's an emergency, whether through the state's hotline, if you call UNGOs receiving calls, transfer to so and so and let them move, and a task force will still be designated to assist in this situation. So we did not have that.
So
I'm talking of Lagos now. I'm using Lagos now. So if I'm using Lagos as a standard, so you can imagine what will be happening in other
In
states
other
in
states.
the nation.
So, I mean,
Because
I
Lagos
know.
still stands out. Yes.
Yeah, I know a lot of countries had to have like special arrangements in times like this when they realized that there was a spike in numbers of domestic violence. I know some countries provided hotels as safe spaces for the time being for people to move in there, whether it was a woman or man or child or whoever, to stay there while this virus has been handled, so that at least there's a safe space for you. There were safe words that were even introduced. If you make a phone call, you sound like you're ordering a pizza, but the person at the other end knows what you're talking about. Did we have any of those sort of arrangements there, even if it's with NGOs aside from government?
Yeah, the interesting thing was for NGOs who have shelters, the issue was really getting people, moving people. That was the issue.
Yes.
We had people who had places. So it was actually, particularly during the lockdown. Now we have a bit of, there is an ease of lockdown. So there's a bit of, it's better. But during the lockdown proper, it was difficult. There was no special status given for those who would respond to GBV. There was none. So there was no way we could, media was given special status, firemen and certain services, food people selling, but this particular issue was not considered on the table. So and then when you even call a police officer, they don't want to send their police officers to anybody's house. It was serious. Nobody wants to go to anybody's house. They don't want to say, I don't want to be infected. I don't know where I'm going, which is true. Everybody had to feel secure and safe. So there were no arrangements, which I'm saying that it's something that we need to be looking at, that when we are having preparations for meetings, whether for crisis or for any intervention in the country, we need to sit and have a gender inclusion into it, which means we're thinking of women, we're thinking of children, we're thinking of the existing problems, because being confined, becomes a forced confinement with people who are also uncertain. Some men were not even violent before. So not all women had violated, violent men, that could hit. And we're only talking about beating. We're talking about sexual violence. We're talking about wives who are being raped by their husbands. Excuse me, I don't want to do that. He's going to have his way, whether or not she wants it. And children that are watching their parents being battered, and children are being molested. Sibling abuse is going on. Sexual abuse between children, siblings are going on. So people are confined in homes. And some of those parents are even, and then you're talking about uncertainty of job. Nobody, the bank is not sure is coming back out of COVID and having a job. Imagine a bank announcing that 70% of people are going. People are already, there's pandemonium already in the minds of people.
So
here's stress.
So here's what I want to ask now, because there's so much, like you said, a lot is happening with regards to spouse, even with children and all of that. But so, some states are still under a lockdown. There's places like Kano. I know Rivers is still very strict with theirs. Some states might go back into a lockdown depending on how things pan out in the coming weeks. What should people in situations like that now do? What should you be thinking about doing if you find yourself in an abusive situation under a lockdown or a partial lockdown, where you know that help might not be as easily accessible as it would be in the past?
There are still numbers. In fairness to people who are working in this space, there was a lot going on so there are numbers. Social media is, numbers are on social media. You can call this, and we're still, I still receive calls from across the nation, and then we still call somebody else who is in Ibadan or who is in Oyo, who is in Imo, to say, okay, fine, there are people over there. So there is a way we were still struggling and trying to make sure people were safe. So there are numbers to call, and there are also, prevention. There are also professional counselors and therapists, numbers available across the nation, who are actually interfering in reducing gender-based violence. In sense of anger management therapies are going on online. So access to those numbers, access to, it's just a click for somebody online, or call somebody who will tell you, okay, you can call this number. People have called, people are calling, someone gave me your number, I Googled online, I found this number. So it is available. Numbers are available across the nation who are receiving and helping and making sure that people are still being, the best we could do in the situations. Some lives have been saved. Some homes are managing the situation in terms of the husband agreeing to cancel and call a number, and some men who are realizing that, oh, hey, I may do more harm, I need help. So the essence here is for the men who know that, for the men or women, let's not say it's only men or women who are finding themselves that they can't control, their anger and the outbursts. There are lines to call. For those who are overstressed, because sometimes it's even just stress, it's not stress. You could hit your child out of, over anxiety and out of your capacity to cope with a lot of things happening around you. So it's not just, it's also about prevention and also response. And most states, most state response teams are helpful. Everybody's working, there's a lot of collaboration going on, so there is help still available at different levels.
Thank you very much for wrapping it up there nicely, because, it's very important that people know that there's still help out there. Like you said, social media, there's so many people to reach out to. Reach out to someone if you don't have any number to call, and someone might actually have help come to you. Thanks a lot for all the good work you do, and please, may everybody please stay safe. We're going to take a very short time out and be right back. Please don't go away.